We should be live everywhere. Now I'm my sponsor up here. Right, you guys should be able to see the sponsor screen in 1 second. Let me know if you see it.
Yep.
All right, guys, welcome to ProSeller Talk, the JB Show. This is episode 103. We're going to get our sponsor out of the way. We're sponsored by My Fulfillment Team. My Fulfillment Team is a state-of-the-art inventory processing company. You source, we process, you profit. They receive, store, prep, pack, ship Amazon Plus. What Amazon Plus means is on-demand shipping for eBay, e-commerce, and when you need a prompt, reliable shipping service for order fulfillment. They also do storage. They will bubble, they will bag, they will label, they do it all for you. Taking away all those tedious tasks that you have of going out and trying to label and do all this stuff. All you have to do is go find your product, put it into Amazon, take these MSQs, bring them over to the software, and you'll be good to go. They're a specialized prep company who's been around, family-owned and operated for 8+ years. They've had millions of items processed, never touch your inventory again, automate your process, pay only for the services you need. Again, that's myfulfillmentteam.com, www.myfulfillmentteam.com. Check them out. All right, guys, I see you guys coming in the room. Welcome. I have with me today Chelsea and Dan. So I have Chelsea, Cohen, and Dan Fernandez, and I'm excited to have these folks here with me today. I got to talk to Chelsea a little bit about what she's doing, and just first time talking to Dan just before the show, and I'm really excited to have them here. What they're doing for sellers is really something that there's a need for in the market, and I think you're going to be real excited, and you should be real excited anyway for the information that they're going to be sharing with you today, both for if you want to do it yourself, and they have a service that they're going to talk about as well that can automate this all for you and make your life a whole lot easier. The only thing that you have to do is worry about finding products. Again, Chelsea and Dan, welcome. Why don't you guys introduce yourself to my audience and we'll get going.
All right.
Hey, guys.
Thanks for having us on the show. When we connected, seemed like a kind of a perfect fit. So I'm excited to be here. And my name is Chelsea Cohen, and I have been selling on Amazon since 2014. I have also been an Amazon consultant for about 2 or 3 years now. And we have a company now that we have designed, a software we've designed called SoStocked.com, designed with Dan. And it was just a matter of, trying to solve these inventory management problems that we have had, and we saw a big opportunity to provide a service to the market because there was no one that was really answering that problem well enough. So kind of met Dan, and he can tell you a little about himself.
Yeah, I'm Dan Fernandez, serial entrepreneur really at heart. Been doing this since I got out of college, probably 13, 14 years ago, which is scary to say, but in the past, we've created multiple different SaaS products. One of the most recent ones was Thomason, which helped with influencer marketing as well as with review management and a couple other components pre-Amazon terms of service change. But we were speaking at a conference, and that's how I ran into Chelsea, and we came to realize that by us teaming up and being able to create software as well as the need for inventory management was pretty vast, and everybody from private label to bundling to wholesale. So we teamed up and have started a new venture called SoStock, but I know we both have kind of some tips and tricks and things to go over as well.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like you're muted.
John, you're muted.
I thought I unclicked it, sorry. All right, guys, I typed a 1 in the chat. Can you do us a favor and type a 1 there and let us know if you can hear us okay? We want to make sure that you get all this valuable information today. That's why you're here, to get this information to be able to help your business grow. So, all right, I see Karen typed a 1. Anybody else can hear us besides Karen? Karen, we'll do it just for you, but we want to know that other people can hear. All right, guys. Well, we have a few of you typing 1s. That's great. Guys, if you have any questions as we go, type them in the chat, and we'll make sure that Chelsea and Dan, I'll get those questions over to them, or they can see them, and we'll get them answered for you again. All right, guys, so we're here about inventory management and why it's important for sellers to be able to automate that process and to be able to track it and not lose their dollars that they lose, especially from some of the shipping companies. I love the fact that you guys work with the shipping companies as well. and as far as to show them how to track all their inventory and to set it up. I know several of them that are out there that they try to do their best, and when they automate their process, like again, I think Chelsea, I was talking to you the other day about this, especially getting stuff from China. I don't think a lot of sellers realize the process and how long it takes before you order it before it comes over to you. So you have to have those projections of it's going to take 6 weeks, it's going to take 8 weeks. So when you're putting your inventory out there, you have to make sure that you project it out. Okay, I've got enough inventory to maybe last 6 weeks. So I got to start getting my orders here before the 6 week period up. I have to have stuff coming from China or wherever they're buying it. Explain to the viewers why your system or what is different in what you do versus what is out there as far as helping with that.
Yeah. So essentially the approach that we're taking, and we're a new software and working on developing new features, but essentially the direction that we're heading with the software is we don't look at ourselves as an inventory management or a forecasting software. We look at ourselves as a logistics problem solver. So we're looking at a broad scope of the entire supply chain from start to finish, and finding all of the problems and the hiccups that come along with inventory management. And it's not just that you ordered on time, it's that it actually has to, sorry about that it actually has to arrive on time. You know, so there's a lot of things that can go wrong if you don't have everything in place to actually track and push along to actually receiving the inventory. So besides just getting the numbers right and getting the order in on time, you have to make sure that your vendors are getting the inventory into the warehouse on time. So that's kind of what we look at. And then there's cash flow issues that are also factored in. And there's supplier issues where maybe you have problems with your supplier. So the big vision of the software is to be able to accommodate all of those things: the managing of a vendor, the access to figuring out how to improve your cash flow, how to better your entire kind of workflow. And that's what we're building So Stocked out to be, is a logistics problem solver.
Okay, and I'm gonna take a step back here because you kind of answered some of it for me, but this was formed and based because of you saw an issue in the marketplace. You as being Amazon sellers, Dan, you being as a serial Amazon seller, like you said, you formed this joint partnership between you two because of the issues. And I think that's what's great about Amazon sellers is Amazon sellers go through a lot of things. There's a lot of trial and error, and we learn from our trial and error. We want to make it better for sellers because of what we've been through. And that's kind of where this partnership evolved, is when you guys decided, hey, you know what? I'm having issues with this. Other people must be having issues with this. Let's fix it. Let's make it better for the whole community in the seller market. And that's kind of where you guys come in and what you guys been able to do. And I applaud you for that, because definitely sellers are the lead magnet to getting the information that we need to be able to help each other get to that next level in our businesses.
Yeah, exactly. I was having problems with, I think when I met Dan, I had recently run out of inventory, and it had been twice in a row that I had run out of inventory. And so, running out of inventory and then talking to other people. So I was part of a mastermind, and we all had similar issues of running out of inventory and not being able to track the way we wanted to track, especially some other seller friends that I had who had multiple different variations, multiple different colors of the same thing. And it just became very cumbersome to track. And so we were looking at some of the other softwares in the market. One of them was wanting to charge $2,000 a month, which none of us wanted to pay, even those making, upwards of $1 million a month, like they don't want to pay that. They, it just, and because it's not handling all of the problems, a lot of these big sellers that, we know and talk to, they just constantly are going back to a spreadsheet, so that was the thing that we saw, is that even though there are, some softwares out there, none of them are servicing and handling the issues that the sellers are having. Either they're really expensive and still not solving the problem, or they, are cost effective, but are not solving the problem. I tried softwares out that were confusing, didn't make sense to me, didn't do the tracking elements that I needed. And so we just figured there has to be something better. And, since there wasn't, we should build it.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you've kind of combined some things and put them together. Like what you say on your page is that you get it. It's like imagine getting a lifetime access to Helium-10, ClickFunnels, Viral Launch, even like places like Inventory Lab and things like that. And you kind of combine them all. I think what sellers like is they want to be able to have multiple things that they can go to in one spot versus going and having to click on 7 different things to get the information that they could get from one viral platform that has it all.
And that's one of the things that when we were kind of designing the interface, one of the biggest problems that we always saw was people had 20 different Excel documents. They had their vendor, they had their lead time, Amazon can tell you, hey, give me 10,000 units and make sure you get it here in a month, but they don't think about, are you sending it logistically to your warehouse? Is there typically a 10-day custom hold that happens? Are you sending it air? Are you sending it to a prep center, then from 2 different suppliers, bundling it, then sending it to Amazon? So there's a lot of other back-end components that we were running, or that we saw as problems that could be solved if you could just connect the dots and take 20 different Excel documents and put it into a piece of software that could be smart enough to manage it for you or help you make a educated guess towards a proper order.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I mean, that's something I thought's been missing from the market for a while, because you got Inventory Lab, you've got Helium-10, you got even like Jungle Scout and all those things. I thought if one market could make it so that they don't have 17 pages open to look at all these different links, if it could be one place, and you guys got the logistics part of it down, which is a big core problem for a lot of people, where they can just go to one market and be able to get all that data and information. First of all, we're going to help them because they're not going to have to open up so many windows. So they're going to save time, they're going to save money, and they're going to be able to do other things because now it's all in one place and they don't have to waste all these time getting all this information and data from everywhere else. So I look at what you guys do as a big money saver and a big time saver for both people, because they're going to be able to do a lot more things and concentrate on growing their business and not have to worry about this stuff that you've already automated for them.
Yeah, and we've talked to a lot of sellers where this is hours of time for them in terms of reordering on a monthly basis, and then even compounding that when they have to do their Christmas or their Prime Day orders, it just becomes very unwieldy to them. So, whether they're doing it or a VA is doing it, and some people don't trust VAs to do this portion of the business because it's, that's a lot of money that they're spending, and they could, if it's done wrong and they run out of inventory because the calculation was wrong, then that's, a lot of lost income. So it becomes really important to take the time to do that. And so the time that's being taken is normally the business owner's time to actually do these things. So it's not, something that a lot of people are comfortable with outsourcing, and it becomes just, that's very expensive time that's being wasted.
I'm going to get into a couple questions here, go into the question part of it, and just ask you a few things. So what are some of the best practices and rules of thumb regarding inventory management that you guys can share with us?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so some of the things that I think are not factored in when it comes to inventory management. One of the big things that we factor in is buffer stock. And that's essentially it's kind of to protect you against anything that might go wrong. So we always recommend having buffer stock. And if you also have a warehouse, you would want to have buffer stock in, your FBA inventory and buffer stock in your warehouse. And what buffer stock is essentially, you want to have, it acts as kind of like a false zero. So you want to say, okay, I want to consider that I always carry 1 month worth of inventory in FBA and 2 months worth of inventory in my warehouse, or whatever it is that you're comfortable with. But that gives you the opportunity you're reordering based on always carrying that amount of inventory in those locations. So you're pretending like, if you have that, say it's 1,000 in each. If you have 1,000 in each, you're pretending that that's zero, and you're reordering as if that were your zero. So that if anything goes wrong, say, your freight forwarder, there was a recent hurricane or I think it was a hurricane. There was a recent hurricane in China, in one of the ports we shipped out of, and that caused a little bit of a delay. So those things happen. And if you don't factor in having additional buffer inventory, you could run out of stock just because you are always cutting it to the zero. So
And an
that's
easy number, yeah, and to back on that, like a best practice would be, let's say your average sale 100 a day. Maybe you look at your lead time is 30 days, and a nice way, maybe you want a week's worth of buffer stock in case there's, so 100 times 700 might be your buffer stock. Okay, so it's thinking about your lead time, and you'll probably want to take 20 to 25% of your lead time times how much your average sale is per day, your velocity per day is. And that's a good probably starting point for a buffer stock. It may go up or down depending on the seasonality, or, if you have, your summer-based grilling products or something, it's starting to ramp up. Maybe in the summer, you're going to carry 40%. But that's a good kind of rule of thumb to start. And you can adjust, because probably the thing we tell a lot of people is inventory management, as much of it is a science. It's probably 80% science, 20% art, and just knowing your business. So you're going to always have to massage the numbers a little bit. You're never going to always be able to be, set it, forget it, hands off. But the software like ours is meant to take the monotony and the stupid things that you hate, like ordering a PI, putting in a PO and having to generate a PDF to email to your supplier. That might take you 10, 20 minutes. That is useless. Like, you should be able to click a button like our software and boom, it spits it out. You can send it to your supplier and it's done in 1 minute. But it doesn't mean that our software is going, or any inventory management software is going to replace that 20% or that component of understanding your business inside and out. So yeah. I know that was kind of a rambling circle answer, but hope that kind of helped a little bit.
The software was built with the understanding and belief that you know your business better than the software will. So you should be able to, although we have defaults, you should also be able to create your own, tell the software what to do as well. So you can go by a default, or you can say, you know what, because everyone manages, the more we talk to sellers, everyone manages their inventory a little bit differently, and they'll always go back to the spreadsheet if they can't do what they want to do in the software. And so that's kind of the direction that we have chosen to head with the software, is to allow people to do what they are already doing, but better.
So great answers. Being that we're into Q4 now, just about, a day away.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see anybody pushing the panic button? Because your logistics, and being logistics, right now there's crazy stuff going on in China and the US where the tariffs are delaying products. And for those of you that don't know, and I know Chelsea and Dan, you know this very well, September 1st, tariffs went up 15%. So anything that you buy from China and ship over here is costing you now 15% more. So what advice would you give sellers, knowing that their price costs them more, and the possible of, these are called uncontrollable delays. It's not like regular delays of a manufacturer processing something and getting delayed because of material. This is government type delays. What are you telling them as far as forecasts? And does your software send out things, and do you guys track something like that?
Mm-hmm. Currently, in terms of tariffs, we aren't tracking that. We've got a cash flow element that we are planning on putting in. That hasn't gone into the software as of yet. But in terms of planning, we always say in logistics, the best case scenario is the worst case scenario. So, when we ask people, we help people set up their accounts. It's, my lead time is usually anywhere between, 60 days and 70 days. Well, we say always go with the 70 days because, that's the worst case scenario. And, you'd rather not be, setting everything based on the best case scenario, because anytime that, it goes to the 70 days, then you're going to be 10 days out of stock. So that's one thing that we recommend. In terms of Christmas orders, it's always order, as soon as you possibly can, because it does become, I think we order end of August for our inventory. So, and the whole idea is to get your separate. We have no idea what exactly is going to continue to happen with the tariff. So it becomes important to get your inventory shipped as quickly as possible before the next tariff hike, so to pay attention to, when the tariffs are going to go up becomes really important. And then also to make sure that your HTS codes are correct. You can do that on the website. It's the usitc.gov website to check that your codes are correct, because there are different tariffs for different codes. And if you're using a code that's not correct and not beneficial, you could be paying more in tariffs than you should be paying. So that's something to look into. And then we're also, like, for us, the tariffs have gone from 0 last year to 25% for us. So right now what we're doing, and this is something that we want that long term when we talk about being a logistics problem solver, is to also mention to people when we've got that cash flow piece in there, is to say, hey, this is kind of the projection of what the software, I envision the software to be able to do, is to say, hey, you've got, you have this tariff coming up, or maybe the supplier's late, you might consider here trying out this sourcing agent who can source the product for you somewhere else. So that's what we're looking at for our own product is there somewhere else that our product is actually being produced? And so I just had a conversation and I'm starting the process of seeing if there's somewhere else that my products can be produced outside of China. So that's something that I think everyone should be looking at, because just to cross your fingers and hope that these Trump tariffs are going to slow down or reverse is just not proper planning. If there is a possibility, and sometimes it's not, and there's no workaround, but then you look at other ways. And so the suggestions that I have in terms of getting the pricing down is both looking at your codes, and then also if you're doing ground shipping and you're not doing LTL shipping, there's something that UPS has, and it's called ground to freight pricing. I would check out ground to freight pricing if you're shipping by cartons, because if you're shipping over 150 pounds, you can get a reduced pricing called ground to freight pricing. So that's what I would recommend using. Once you've got your stuff over into the US, there are programs like that can reduce your shipping costs.
One other, it may just be painfully obvious, but MOQ and the amount of times that you order per month is another way that, and this may not be applicable to everybody. Let's say you have a product that's pretty steady Eddie, it has been for a while. Try negotiating with your supplier to do a higher MOQ, and instead of, or minimum order quantity, to get a better price per unit. And instead of ordering once a month or once a week or whatever you do once every 2 months, you order once a quarter. And then you can get a larger bulk order, and maybe you can save some of that money on the tariffs. Now, I know that's not applicable. Like I said, not everybody has that luxury, but it's also a pretty common theme that we've seen.
Yeah, and there are some cautions against that. Yeah. I don't know if we're quite on the same subject, but we can talk about the cautions of bulk ordering as well.
Totally.
The other thing a lot of Amazon sellers are not aware of is, I think it's today, October 1st, tomorrow, right? So today's the last day. So if you've got product that's coming from China and it hasn't hit Amazon warehouses by now, and when you order it, you got this great price, and now you're going to have it come in and go to Amazon, but your matrix has fallen to 350 or below, they're going to put you in a category of limit how many quantity you can send to Amazon. And if you got all this items going to Amazon or is at Amazon after October 1st, they're going to hit you with that penalty for having over inventory. So that's something new that Amazon's doing now. And that makes it a lot harder on people that are getting product from overseas too, because when you bought it, you thought you bought it at one price, but you didn't clear out the inventory you needed in Amazon to get your matrix up higher. So now you've fallen below the 350, and now you're paying $10 penalty per unit. I mean, it's huge what they're going to charge. And I think a lot of sellers are not aware of that, and they need to be. And it's not a scare tactic. It's a reality that they're going to get hit with those things. That's one of the things that Amazon put in place. Yeah. So with things like that happening, as far as what you do with logistics, do you remind sellers, hey, it's getting close to this time of the year. You better be looking at your matrix to make sure your matrix are right before you have all this inventory coming in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's stuff that we can build into the software, and that's kind of what everything that we are doing and everything that goes kind of, because we have a rollout of various different features, and additional notifications is kind of on that rollout as well. So those are things that, we are planning to roll in, is listening to the sellers as to what issues are coming up and saying, okay, this is something that we need to do. We need to, if it has to do with logistics, we should be putting it in the software. If it has to do with, improving your strategies, that's the step that we are interested in. One of the things we've been doing as we've got this beta program for the software has been onboarding every single person who comes onto the software, person to person. And that has given us invaluable insight into what is needed and wanted in our software by our users. And so we are adding various different features based on that. And so that would be something that we definitely put kind of in our pipeline of things to do, is to notify, how to save money. Additionally, prices are storage fees are going up in October. Tomorrow, storage fees are going up. So that would be another thing, that we would be able to send notifications out, like, from October to the end of December, you're going to be paying, I think it's 4 times what you usually pay in storage fees. So that is another factor, is when you're planning your inventory storage. Amazon's doing everything that they can to try to incentivize you not to keep inventory in their warehouses. If it's not moving, they don't want it. And case in point, I was emailed by Amazon. They're starting a beta program where they are piloting working with warehouses just outside of their warehouses. So I'm looking at potentially shifting my warehousing over to an Amazon-sponsored third-party warehouse. The cost for storage, I think, is like half what I'm currently paying right now. So I think that's where they're headed. And because if the prices are, and it's in California storage is very expensive. So I think that's what they're looking at, is partnering with, we'll probably see that more and more, partnering with third-party warehouses at a reduced cost to incentivize people to move their stuff out of Amazon. Like, if you don't currently have a third-party warehouse, you should look into getting a third-party warehouse so you're not storing all your stuff in Amazon, because I can foresee fees going up more and more, like you were saying, John, about this penalty. I can see that coming out more and more, because that's what Amazon's trying to do, is get people's inventory out of their warehouses.
I'm not plugging it, guys, but myfulfillmentteam.com.
Yeah.
No long-term storage fees. It's a lot cheaper than Amazon, and you definitely need third-party. There's one reason why you need third-party above all, is because if you're going to send something directly to Amazon, Amazon is just going to prep it for you. You need your eyes. You need somebody watching it, and you need if you're going to buy large quantity orders, like you said, in fourth quarter, yeah, Amazon's going to have a no tolerance. If you're not moving that product, they're not going to give you the best viewing on their site so that your product will move. So you got to have a third-party warehouse to be able to send it, so that you have a logistics. You should have a U.S.-based logistics company working with you as well, because of that fact, is that especially sellers that have done it already, because they know the process inside and out. But yeah, I mean, it's just going to get more expensive. And I know Amazon did away with their 6-month storage, and people thought the 6-month storage, that was a break for them. It really wasn't, because you still got the 1 year, and you still got, after that, you've got the higher rates per month if it's in there over a year. So they still have their high storage fees. And you're right about Amazon. Amazon wants to move product. They're growing faster than they can actually, their warehouses are filling up faster than they can build them. Yeah. So they're going to more and more do that. And then they're going to more and more be brand driven. In other words, they're going to be wanting brands out there versus the mom and pop retail arbitrage people and stuff like that. They want to have bigger brands in there. And they want their product to move and move quickly. And I mean, it's a lot of inventory for them. That's why they penalize you with these high storage fees, because they want it out. They want stuff that's going to move and turn.
Yeah, and to that point, it becomes important, especially in fourth quarter. You have to kind of juggle. They don't like when they have so much inventory coming in, especially fourth quarter and Prime Day. It really slows things down, and I know that most sellers have noticed. But one of the things that becomes a problem is LTL shipping. If you're trucking something in and it's all palletized, you're not going to get checked in as quickly as a carton is going to get checked in. So we had a couple of years ago where we palletized some inventory and we sent it in, and it did not get unchecked until after Christmas. It was, I think back then it was like $10,000 worth of inventory, which, to us, when we were just starting out, that was a big deal for us. That was pretty much Christmas for us. But that's the thing that you have to start to factor in, is that because these warehouses are so full and because these guys are so busy, your stuff gets checked in a lot less quickly than if, especially during Christmas. So, that's where you look at ground with freight pricing with UPS as an option. If you're used to sending in LTL and don't want to risk sending it in LTL, sending it in palletized because you might not get checked in, because we had it pelletized and then we had other people send inventory in after us and they're like, oh, mine went in fine. So that's something to keep in mind during fourth quarter, is you might not want to send it in palletized if it gets too close to the deadline.
Yeah, the closer you get, you're going to want to send it in by the box. For the simple reason is their pallets are not priority when they first come in. They'll sit on those trucks until they can get to them.
Yeah.
They'll offload the ground stuff a lot quicker.
And they'll tell you they lost it. That's rather than tell you that they're just not checking it in, they'll say, oh, we lost it. We don't know where it is. And then they'll find it after Christmas.
Yeah. And again, being seasoned sellers, you learn those things and you learn those habits. Let's see. What's the most common invisible problem in inventory management?
Yeah. This is a good one, because this is the one that we found was our Achilles heel. So the invisible problem is the vendors. It's managing vendors. And so that's one thing that we're doing, is we're building out a tool to be able to manage vendors. Because the forecast could be right. You could order on time. But if you don't manage your vendors, when we're talking your supplier, your freight forwarder, your warehouse, if you don't manage them, then you could end up running out of stock simply because they didn't hit their deadlines. So we have found for our business and for other people's businesses that we've talked to be the most common invisible problem. Everyone is aware of, needing to forecast right. Everyone is aware of needing to order on time. They're aware of all these things, but you could set a lead time that's 60 days, and yet your supplier sends it 15 days late consistently. We had where, oh, shoot, we need to, we were supposed to ship this out a week and a half ago. And, contact our supplier. Oh, yeah, it's been sitting here. Why didn't you tell us? Or just it was running late and you're not following up and finding out. Or it's ready to ship. And then so you say, okay, you contact your freight forwarder, but then your freight forwarder and your supplier take a week to coordinate to get it out of the warehouse. When if they were coordinating a week before, they could have shipped it out the day it was ready to ship. So it's these little tiny things, and buffer stock helps with this, but we recognize there's also a need to be able to manage them and to track them, and to also keep a log of all of the times that they are late and all of the reasons they're late, so that later on you can debug that. Because maybe the problem is you think that you just can't trust your supplier, they're just going to be late. Well, you can adjust your lead time, and that's one thing that we would be suggesting. Say, okay, you get a notification. The past 3 shipments have been late by 1 week. We suggest updating your lead time to be 1 week later. But the other thing that the software will do is it will log, and you can do this yourself, but it will log. Maybe it's because the raw material provider is late. And maybe the solution is simply to buy a bunch of raw material in bulk from them so that they have it, so that they can always hit their deadlines. And then your lead times are shorter, which helps with cash flow as well. But it's starting to identify the reasons why things are late. And that's one of the most common invisible problems that no one is really tracking. They were told 5 years ago that it's 60-day lead time. And yet at some point it creeped up to being, 75 days, and they didn't notice. And so they're constantly running out of inventory because they're not paying attention, and they're not actually asking, well, why was it late? So those are the things that, as a business owner, to keep track of. What date did you have on your calendar was supposed to be ready? And if it wasn't, dig in and find out why.
What are some of the ways to lower my shipping cost?
Yeah, so we mentioned a little bit about that. So you've got, the ground to freight pricing. right? That's with UPS, just, you can even just Google UPS ground to freight pricing, so that would be, 150, say you've got 150 pounds worth of freight, but you don't want to send it LTL. You can actually get ground, we can actually get pricing that is much better than normal ground shipping. So that's something to look into. And then, of course, getting your HTS codes right. And then there are freight forwarders who will actually, say you don't have enough inventory to send a full container. And normally people who are sending full containers, they're getting a discount on their shipping, but not everyone necessarily has the ability to use a full container. So there are some companies that will take a bunch of their clients and they'll put a bunch of their clients' stuff in one container, and they'll get the full container, the cheaper pricing for the full container, and they'll pass some of that savings onto their clients. So it's essentially you're kind of using the freight forwarder to get that discount and save. So that would be something that would be worth looking into, is how can I get with a company that does shipping based on that model.
When does it make sense for me to take out a loan for inventory? That's a tough one.
Yeah. So a good rule of thumb for that is on proven products. It's not a good idea to take a loan out on things where you're taking a gamble on it. So, if you want to grow and expand your product line, you should do that with actual money that you have. And maybe the money that you're borrowing is going to a product that you have shown consistent sales on. So it's just too risky. You're basically, otherwise you're just gambling. So, if you're considering a loan, it would be for something like, say, a product sells and that it has sales history, then you take out a loan, to float you, say for Christmas order or something like that.
What does it mean to know your numbers in inventory management?
Hey, Dan, you want to?
The numbers man.
Well, knowing your numbers is as simple as, well, not as simple, but you have everything from your buffer stock being your absolute zero. Then you add on your lead time. Then you have to know how much you need for your max inventory. So let's say you want 90 days worth of inventory. You have your MOQ, which is 1,000. You have your buffer stock, which is 1,000, and you know that you have X amount of lead time. So you're going to need to know how much projected sales are you thinking you're going to have over this period of time, your velocity, multiply that out times 90, and then also figure out how much inventory you currently have minus that velocity to understand how many days of inventory you currently have. Subtract that from your 90 days of inventory that you want. And then that's going to give you the amount of inventory that potentially you need to order. So there's a lot of different data points, and I just rattled off a bunch of gibberish without needing to show you. But the component is that the easiest thing to look back at is probably you have multiple days of sales velocity in the past. You have 180 days, 90 days, 60 days, 30 days, 7 days, 2 days. And you can take the average of each of those and then average those to understand a rough velocity per day. And the easiest thing then to do is say, hey, I need to know how long my lead time is, plus say another 1.5% of that, so that you're always ordering enough. And that's an easy way to reorder without getting into the crux of knowing every single intricate detail, which is buffer stock, minimum order quantity, lead time, and then subtract that from how much inventory you already have. And then beyond that, you need to also know how much inventory is at your warehouse, how long does the transfer time take to get to FBA, so that then you may not even need to put an order in. You may just have to transfer So it's, without continuing to go down a rabbit hole of numbers, the easiest way to think about it is look at 180 days, 90 days, 60 days, 30 days, 7 days, and 2 days velocity, average velocity. Put those together, then average them out. And then you can, from there, have a rough idea, a rough projection into the future, how many sales are going to happen per day in the future, to give you a very rough idea of inventory that potentially you need to order. So, and then you don't even have to get into cash flow, but those are things that, like I said, I can talk about it philosophically, but that's probably the easiest way to think about your knowing your numbers.
And guys, before we let them talk about their company, I just want to tell you that try to go and purchase Helium 10, ClickFunnels, and Viral Launch for what these guys are offering at this crazy price. And for what you're getting for this monthly fee that these guys are charging for this service, it's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous that they only have a limited amount of spots that they're opening up. So if you guys are interested and want to check this out, I did put a link in here. Check out the sales doc here. There's a link you can check out. And then again, check out Helium 10, Viral Launch, and check those out in ClickFunnels and see what they charge on a monthly basis, and then see what you're getting through SoStock, and you'll see the quality of what you're getting for the price. It's ridiculous. I can't even believe they're doing it for what they're doing it for. But they want to come in and they want to really raise the bar and help sellers, so I applaud them for doing that. All right, guys, now we're going to talk about why SoStock and why I'm so excited about what we talked about earlier, of putting the one tool in a place where they don't have to go around and have all these different windows open. It's right there, and have access to this tool. I always say, guys, if you're going to, and I know this is not the sexy topic. I'm sorry if you guys thought this was going to be sexy. It's not, but it's necessary to learn this stuff and what these guys are actually teaching and what their software does for you. It's just amazing. And like I said, it's not the topic that you probably want to discuss, but it's very necessary to be able to help build your business. It's part of the SOP. You have to have those standard operation procedures. This tool solves that problem. So I'm excited for letting you guys talk about it a little bit and say why you're different.
Sure.
Yeah, so essentially, and I'll let Dan, I think, is going to do a little bit of a demo, but
sure.
Essentially the premise was just that you know your business better than others know your business. So is to be able to control the formula and control things on a SKU level. So no two businesses are necessarily the same, and certainly, your products across your entire catalog, the sales velocity differs. So what works for one product may not work for another in terms of your calculations and the formula that you're using. So the ability to control and to change the what is being projected based on a SKU level became really important. It was important to our business and also to those that we were talking to. And then just the ability to track things and the ability to understand the entire logistics process and to be able to manage the logistics process became extremely important, because just having a forecasting software does not really solve all of the problems. And as we dug in, we realized that we needed to solve all of the problems having to do with logistics if we were really going to serve the Amazon seller the way he needed to be served and wasn't being served.
Sure. So yeah, I can jump into a pretty high level demo here. Let me get my. Okay. So oops, stuff out of the way. So kind of talking towards the software and what we try and do to bring everything into one space. When you're working with our system, what we do is we will connect your Amazon account, and whether it's Europe or North America or whatever, we'll pull in all your data initially. So all your products, your pricing, etc., into one spot so that you can see everything and start to understand vendors, last addresses of where you've shipped in products. We'll pull all this information in and make certain assumptions. But what's really annoying to a lot of people is having 20 different Excel documents with knowing, ABC storage. What are they? Are they a warehouse, a prep center? Do they have inventory? And what we allow you to do is to come into this area, fill out all the information, contact information, everything in payment terms, lead times, so you can adjust lead times for this supplier to know, hey, in production, it takes 7 days, then typically it goes air freight, then to a prep center. Which prep center does it go to? You can add additional steps in this. So this helps build out your lead time for a supplier so that when we are manipulating or giving you a forecast, we're actually able to show you different forecasts for different products based on how you've set up each individual lead time. And what's also nice about this is that when you go to actually order this, you can see your past sales. But then what Chelsea was talking about and what we were working through is the ability to actually manipulate your forecast because you know your product better than we potentially do. So you may have had sales spikes in the past that would completely skew your forecast moving forward. Let's say it's Christmas has just happened and now you have a slow period. Well, you're probably not going to want to count Christmas in this next order because it's going to skew your numbers. So you can include or exclude those pieces of data. Deep discounts, stock outs. We were talking about knowing your numbers. What is your lead time, your MOQ? How much buffer stock do you have in here? And you can manipulate each of these. Do you want to order as needed every week? And manipulate how much you need to order based on all these different kind of forecasts. And you're able to actually see even what we kind of project out into the future. Now, going even deeper into this, you're then able to actually see the workflow of products and when things are going to be coming in. So, we're projecting X amount of sales per month. We're saying, hey, you should put this order in at this period of time. This order is probably going to be arriving out here. And you can start to roll over to understand when different POs, different forecasted orders are all going to be coming in. So you can get a high level overview. But if you're a more visual person and not just wanting to look at the numbers, you're also able to go to something that we call an order tracker. That's a Kanban board, where you can go through and see what's been checked in, how much has been checked in, if there's missing units, and start to understand what's happening throughout each level of your business and each component of the whole logistics supply chain. So, this PO 324 is en route, or you have these different ones that are en route. ETA, you can even go in, you can kind of see, what the lead time was, supplier, etc., and really kind of get an understanding from a high level, if you have a lot of moving parts, what's going on, where are things at, as well as, for example here, order by, I should probably put this order in. So I can quickly come here, create a PO from it. It fills in all my information. I simply need to punch in a purchase order number. It looks at the different shipments, at how fast they should be, should they get to Amazon quicker or not. I can sign it. I can either add another PO or I can go to save and preview. And I get a purchase order that's created, signed. I can add, again, additional notes, or I can submit the order and send it directly to my supplier with a custom note where they can download it, send it, and it's done. So the thing, again, that we were really trying to do is bring the key components of bringing all those 20 different Excel documents into one place, connect the dots on your different inventory levels where then you can look at, do you want to group it by supplier? Or do you want to look at per warehouse how much inventory you have? Total in stock, etc., by SKU, and you can break everything down. And then you need to be able to go and look at this per forecast. And the last component is if you are shipping things in, to be able to actually reconcile shipments with existing purchase orders so that you're not actually double counting inventory. So we pull in the FBA shipments that you're sending into Amazon, and you can come in here and say, yes, this is coming from an existing, purchase order, or deduct this from existing inventory so you're not double counting any inventory that you're directly shipping into Amazon or that you have coming from a purchase order or a work order or prep centers or anything. So it's similar to QuickBooks in that you're able to reconcile that to know that your numbers are going to be as accurate as humanly possible. So that's a high level of how we kind of consolidate everything into one level.
All right, guys, you have any questions? I don't know if you guys saw in the chat, but I just put in the chat, they have limited spots available for this, guys. I put in the chat for the first 20 people who join So Stocked here or through the replay, I will give them special prepping pricing for our warehouse. So if you're going to use So Stocked, and this is only open for the first 20 people, just send me a copy of your purchase that you purchased So Stocked, and we will get you special pricing going in through the whole fourth quarter. So this is kind of a win-win for you. You're getting the ridiculous price that they have, plus if you're using a prep center, or if you need a prep center, come to my prep center, and the first 20 people will get pricing beyond what we charge our normal customers. Again, I believe in these guys totally, and I believe in what they're doing, and I want to be part of that and help them. So the first 20 people, we will give you reduced pricing. And again, it has to be people that are not using us already. It's not new people coming in, and we will give you that discount.
Awesome.
All right, guys, how can they reach out to you if they have any questions? They want to get back to you or talk to you about anything? Because a lot of times when people come on here, they're kind of in listen mode. They want to listen. So I see there's people on here. I know there's going to be a lot of people that see the replay. There'll be thousands that see the replay. If they want to reach out to you and say, hey, I really like what you guys showed with the software, but I have some questions on it. How can you tell me a little bit about it? Where can they contact you? Can you type that in the chat for them?
Yeah. So that will, let me see, all panelists and things. So that'll be stock@sostock.com. Stock@sostock.com. And I just typed it into the chat.
Okay. I thank you both for being on. Dan, I do want to talk to you at some point. I'll get back with you about with brand influencers. I just think that that's the wave of the future, and that kind of helps you eliminate Amazon or any platform. When you start talking about brand ambassadors and getting brands to actually do the work for you, and having influencers do the work for you, I think influencers is going to be the wave of the future. That's a subject that's got my heart attention.
Sure.
All right, guys. Thanks again. Thanks for joining me. Dan, where were you from? I didn't even know where you were from. All I knew that you were her partner.
I'm out of Minneapolis.
Okay, so you're up there in the Viking country.
Yeah, but I'm a Green Bay Packer fan, so I'm actually from Wisconsin. So
yeah,
I know.
They had a tough one the other night.
Oh, yeah, don't got to go into that. Not as bad as the Vikings. The Vikings got it even worse. But anyway, I digress. Yeah,
and I thought Cleveland looked really impressive last night against Baltimore. That was pretty awesome.
Surprising. No more parade of shame or whatever that was that they do every year.
Yeah. Well, the Baltimore Ravens used to be the team that was in Cleveland.
Yep. Yeah, I know that story.
So that's Art Modell moved that team to Baltimore, and then all of a sudden now look at them. We're not going to talk sports, guys. I know they don't want to be talking about that here. So, again, guys, thank you for joining us. Thank you guys for watching the show and coming in and listening to Chelsea and Dan and all the information that they had for you. Hopefully you guys take action. It's fourth quarter. It's critical right now. So it's going to be a little bit harder if you're not selling on Amazon to try to get into Amazon, because I know you got 14 days to get the merchant fulfilled type stuff qualified. You got like 25 items, but again, what these guys are not talking new sellers. They're talking sellers that want to take their business to the next level mostly, and that can actually go and automate their process, have SOPs in place to be able to take it to the next level. And there's no better way to take your business to the next level in fourth quarter. Fourth quarter, you have the most eyeballs in the world on Amazon, and that's where you're going to make a lot of your money, especially if you're just starting out. So again, thanks guys. Thanks for everybody for being here. God bless as always. And we'll talk again real soon until my next show Thursday. With Thursday, we talk about Q4 and how Q4 can make or break your business.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much for having us on.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.